Oral questions. Question oral. The honourable member for Barrie South Innisfil.
In a stunning admission of failure, overpromising and under-delivering, Liberals this week announced they will be seducing Canadians with their own money. Without acknowledging their failed economic policies have caused structural food insecurity for millions of Canadian families, the Liberals' latest scheme will put $12 billion more on the country's credit card. Now, in the spirit of cooperation, here's an idea. Why not eliminate their industrial carbon tax, fuel standards tax, lower income taxes, boost grocery chain competition, and stop taxing farmers so families can keep food in their carts rather than having to put it back on the shelf?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Or how about having the backs of Canadian families, the middle class and low-income Canadians who need a serious government now to respond to their everyday challenges? That's why we've put in place this particular benefit. That's why we're increasing the GST credit, Mr. Speaker. And furthermore, if the Conservatives are serious about the challenges of this country, I would hope, beyond inventing mythology about taxes, that they would come to the floor of the House of Commons with serious ideas of the day. That's what Canadians deserve right now.
The member for Barrie South Innisfil.
Well, if things were so great, Mr. Speaker, and affordability was in fact improving, there'd be no need for the Liberals to spend $12 billion more outside of the budget. The truth is the Liberals are doing this to distract from their failed policies. They can, right now, implement solutions to solve the structural problem of grocery affordability and food insecurity crisis that Canadian families and seniors are dealing with. Conservatives are willing to fast-track the elimination of all taxes that are having a cascading impact on higher grocery prices. Will the Liberals join us, or will they obstruct real relief for Canadians and carry on with their short-term vote-buying scheme?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister for Citizenship and Immigration.
It is a classic technique of right-wing populism, Mr. Speaker, to identify every problem imaginable and invent some too, and not propose serious solutions. Only a few months ago, the Leader of the Opposition was calling for the firing of the Bank of Canada. On this side of the House, we take seriously what the Bank of Canada says. We are seeing, in this country, inflation within the target rate. We are seeing record foreign direct investment. We are seeing, beyond Canada, the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, its head, calling the world to look at Canada as an example for the world. Good fiscal policy.
Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, this just shows how out of touch this government is. Families in my riding of Fundy Royal and throughout Canada are feeling the pinch at the grocery store. And every month, over 2 million Canadians are now visiting food banks under this government. Food inflation in Canada has doubled just since this Prime Minister took office, making us the worst off in the G7. Conservatives will fast-track policies to reverse the skyrocketing cost of food. Will the government finally put an end to the Liberals' industrial carbon tax, fuel standards tax, and cut red tape on farmers?
The Honourable Minister for Artificial Intelligence.
I think some facts would be good for this debate right now. Here's one for the Conservatives. We're making life more affordable for 12 million Canadians, allowing them to put food on their table. Mr. Speaker, the party of no likes to block. We are building affordable homes. They're blocking it. We're building safe streets. They're blocking it. We're building a chance for 12 million families to put food on their table with a 25% increase in the GST. They're blocking it. When will they stop blocking and start building?
The Honourable Member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, failed Liberal policies got us into this mess, and more failed Liberal policies will not get us out of it.
Right on, Rob.
The cost to feed a family of 4 has increased by $1,000 just in the last year. Liberal taxes are hiking the cost of fuel at every point in the supply chain. To make food more affordable, we need to get rid of the Liberals' fuel standards tax and the industrial carbon tax. When will the Liberals put the best interest of struggling families ahead of their own failed policies?
Here comes another lie.
The Honourable Minister for Artificial Intelligence.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister likes to say nostalgia is not a strategy. I don't know why they keep being nostalgic for their past policies. Here's some new ones. This 25% increase to the GST credit will allow a family of 4, the Honourable Member referring to a family of 4, to have up to $1,900 to feed that family. That's real money. We've made the National School Food Program permanent. If this if the Party of No was serious about helping families, they would support these programs. Stop blocking, start building.
The honourable member for Louis-Saint-Laurent-Acawenrac. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister was elected by saying, and I quote, "I will be judged on the price of groceries." Well, here we are, nearly 1 year after his election. Families have to spend $1,000 more to feed themselves. We have the worst food inflation in the G7. On this side, the Conservatives are holding out their hand to the Liberals so that they reduce the price of groceries. The Liberals kept boasting about the Liberal carbon tax, but then what did they do? They abolished it. Mr. Speaker, given that they've already abolished one tax, why don't they abolish a second one or a third one? The Honourable Minister for Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What I would like to say is that, yes, for years now, we have been implementing programs to help Canadians. Dental care, for example. In your riding, Mr. Speaker, you know it works very well. We've also reduced taxes for a huge swath of Canada, and now we will give Canadians an extra support to weather these difficult times. The opposition keeps talking about structural measures. We're implementing structural measures. It takes time, but in the meantime, we're showing Canadians that we are here for them. The honourable member for Louis-Saint-Laurent-Acawenrac. Mr. Speaker, if these infamous policies worked, we wouldn't have 2.2 million Canadians in food banks every single month in Quebec City, on Lormière Boulevard. Solidarité Famille has beaten historic records. Last year, or in December 2024, they gave one hamper, but they've had to give out 23 in 2025. So why is the government not ready to reduce taxes to help all Canadian families? The Honourable Minister for Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to remind my colleague that our new government reduced taxes for the middle class. That was the first thing we did. I don't know if he remembers that. But now, well, they should be happy. If it was their idea, they should be happy about it. Once again, they keep talking about Food Bank Canada, but Food Bank Canada advised us to help Canadians in these difficult times. So I'd like to ask the opposition, for once, please vote in favour of this measure that will help Canadians, the most vulnerable Canadians. The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, for days now, we've been alerting the government that its problems with the new Curam software are preventing pensioners from receiving their old age pensions. At first, the Liberals said it was a scaremongering campaign. Yesterday, they admitted that the problem existed, but that it only affected about 30 people. So allow me to quote Maria Fournier, a journalist. "It's chaos in Ottawa. In all my career, I've rarely been inundated with so many testimonials from distraught people." Mr. Speaker, when will the government finally take its head out of the sand? The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House. Mr. Speaker, one error is one error too many, but we invite everyone who has been affected to contact Service Canada. This is a great modernisation of government systems. This will allow seniors to self-register and to receive their benefits even more rapidly without having to wait on the phone or without having to queue up outside of a government office. We will correct mistakes if there are any, but this is good news for taxpayers. The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Well, other than the cost, Mr. Speaker, once again, Ottawa is driving people crazy. On the one hand, there are people aged 65 and over who have deferred their pensions and have been deprived of checks for 9 months when they finally decide to claim them. On the other hand, there are people who are receiving extra checks, returning them, and are still being sent T4A forms. Meanwhile, the government is doing nothing even though its own officials warned it that its software was chock full of bugs. They were told in June. So when will action finally be taken? The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House. First of all, there are officials who are working on this system, who are making sure that errors are mitigated and corrected. We are confident that this great modernisation of our government systems will at the end of the day, allow seniors to self-register to be better served to get their benefits even more rapidly than before. That is the case now, and if there are any errors, they will be corrected. The Honourable Member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, people aged 65 and over deserve real answers before this turns into another Phoenix fiasco. No one should have to wait 9 months to receive their pension. And there are people that have waited 9 months. No one should have to spend hours on the phone trying to talk to a human to fix the federal government's mistakes. And the first step in solving the problem is to admit that the problem exists and not to downplay it. The new software is causing retirees to have budgetary and financial nightmares. When will the Liberals stop burying their heads in the sand? The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House. Mr. Speaker, we are convinced that this system and its implementation will be of benefit to all seniors in a specific and ad hoc case-by-case way. That is the government's work. There is an obsolete system that was replaced by a modern IT system, which has now given us better tools to help Canadians.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians and all members here know that communities are facing a food inflation crisis, with 2.2 million Canadians now relying on food banks in a single month. Tiffany Kift from Simcoe Hall in Oshawa is seeing this crisis firsthand. She says people who never needed help before are lining up, including dual-income families. Conservatives want to work with all parties on serious solutions. Will the government work with us to introduce legislation that eliminates the industrial carbon tax, eliminates the fuel standards tax, and boosts competition in the grocery trains to bring food prices down?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I'd invite the member opposite to have a look at the government's announcement this week. The new benefit that we've just announced is going to help 12 million Canadians. It's going to provide up to $1,890 this year for a family of 4. This is a measure that food banks have called for, that Food Banks Canada has called for, and it's part of a broader plan. A plan that's going to see us actually improve our supply chains, improve competition in our sector, and benefit families like the one that the member opposite is talking about. We are a serious government doing serious work, and Canadians know this.
The Honourable Member for Oshawa.
There's a reason why free money always sounds too good to be true, and that's because it is. Liberals take, then gift a tiny portion back and call that good for Canadians. With rebranded one-time payments and additional funding for food banks, the demand will continue to rise as long as the cost of food keeps going up. You can't rebate your way out of high food prices. Why does this government refuse to take serious action by working with us to introduce legislation that actually lowers food prices once and for all?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, not only are we taking actual concrete steps to make life more affordable for Canadians, but we're also investing in the kinds of supports that help families across the board, from early learning and childcare to a national school food program, to a Canada child benefit that is tied to inflation, to a dental care program. Mr. Speaker, these are the kinds of programs that Canadians depend on that these Conservatives continually vote against. They should get on board. They should join Team Canada. They should be on that side of the House fighting for Canadians in their own constituencies.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland Clark.
According to StatsCan, food inflation is now up to 6.2%. Canada has the highest food inflation in the G7. Food prices are rising twice as high in Canada as they are in the United States, driving up the cost of food, the more expensive, less transparent replacement for the consumer carbon tax. They're called the fuel standard tax and the industrial carbon tax, which are increasing costs for farmers, food processors, and truckers. When will these Liberals finally admit that a carbon tax by any name is painful?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, let's look at the Conservatives' record with respect to affordability. This is the party that supported sending millionaires child benefit checks. They voted against the school food program, daycare, childcare, dental care. The list goes on and on. This past Monday, we announced the Groceries and Essentials benefit, Mr. Speaker, for 12 million Canadians, helping them with the cost of living. It's time for the Conservatives to stop the obstruction, work with us to support working families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Northumberland Clark.
Same old government, same old tired lines. These Liberals have the temerity to get up in this House of Commons and talk to the 2.2 million Canadians that are using food banks right now and tell them, stop complaining. You've never had it so good. Well, Mr. Speaker, Conservatives are not so easily fooled. We know that millions of Canadians are struggling. When will these Liberals finally take meaningful action and reduce the cost of food by reducing and eliminating the industrial carbon tax and the fuel standards tax?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, same old tired lines. They hand one question from member to member on their side. Mr. Speaker, let's look at our track record on affordability. We cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. We cut the consumer carbon tax. We cut the GST for first-time homebuyers. And on Monday, we announced the groceries and essentials benefit that will put up to $1,900 in a family's pocket, a working family's pocket. Right. Mr. Speaker, on that side of the House, they have voted against every affordable measure we have put forward. It's time to stop obstructing and support Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Regina, Wascana.
Mr. Speaker, Statistics Canada has confirmed what Canadians already know. Food inflation is up 6.2%, and it's getting harder and harder for people to fill their shopping carts up with groceries. The Liberal fuel standard adds 7 cents to every litre of gas, and that's going up to 17 cents by 2030. And that drives up higher prices at the grocery store. Conservatives would be more than happy to work with the Liberals to repeal this costly policy today. Will they do it?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, time and time again in this place, what we see is that the Conservatives are the party of no, while the government is the party of creating opportunities. The Clean Fuel Regulations is an excellent example of that. It was described by the Advanced Biofuels Canada Association as, I quote, the most pro-agriculture as a policy can get. It will actually add $1.09 in value per bushel. This creates opportunities for canola farmers right across all of our communities that are growing it. We are supporting farmers. We are supporting Canadians. They say no.
The Honourable Member for Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are paying the price for Liberal economic failure, one grocery bill at a time. A friend of mine showed a flyer last week, the same meat package, twice the price, 1/3 less inside. Canada has the highest food inflation in the G7. Families are paying $1,000 more this year. Food banks are overwhelmed. Why do the Liberals refuse to admit their industrial carbon tax and reckless deficit spending are driving food prices through the roof and pushing families to the brink?
Parliament Secretary for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, I would direct the member opposite to the announcement that we made this week, because I think this government has a serious plan to make life more affordable for Canadians. One of the things that the member opposite talked about, I think we're addressing. We're going to be increasing competition in the market. We're going to introduce unit price labeling. This is part of our plan to bring down prices for Canadians and to make their lives more affordable. Part of a plan that's going to see them have almost $1,900 in their pockets for the groceries and essentials that they need. Mr. Speaker, it's time for the Conservatives to join Team Canada, put their money where their mouth is in cooperating with the government, and help us get things done.
The Honourable Member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, food inflation in Canada is now 6.2%, the highest in the G7. The 2026 food price report shows it now costs over $17,000 a year, $1,000 more to feed a family of 4. Those costs do not appear by accident. Their industrial carbon tax, fuel standards, and food packaging tax all work to increase the cost to grow, ship, and sell food. Conservatives are ready to fast-track proposals to reverse inflation. Will the Liberals immediately introduce legislation to scrap these taxes, boost grocery competition, and cut the red tape for farmers?
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Parliament Secretary, the President of the Treasury Board.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, every time this government puts in place a policy or a program to make life more affordable for Canadians, the Conservative Party vote against it. Early learning and childcare, they voted against, Mr. Speaker. The dental program, they voted against. School food program, they don't support that. In fact, they call it garbage. Mr. Speaker, reducing taxes for 22 million Canadians, they voted against. First-time homebuyers, reducing taxes, they voted against, Mr. Speaker. Instead of complaining that things are tough, why don't they join us in making things easier?
The Honourable Member for Pierre Boucher des Patriotes Verchères. Mr. Speaker, for months the Liberals refused to invite victims of discount drivers to testify in Ottawa. This week we finally heard from mothers who lost their families because of these public dangers. What these mothers asked is that the government do its job. We submitted 10 actions to be taken to the Liberals. They've accepted one, and since then they've just sat on their hands. When will they finally take action and stop blaming the provinces? The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House. Mr. Speaker, of course, our hearts go out to those who suffer from tragedies on our highways and other roads here in Canada. My full sympathies to the victims. We have already put forward tangible measures that will have a significant impact on the effects of this in Canada. This is in the budget, and we hope that the Bloc Québécois will help us in adopting the budget as rapidly as possible so we can finally turn to solutions. The Honourable Member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes Verchères. 1 out of 10 recommendations. There's a common thread in the testimonies of Mélanie Séguin and Nathalie Poulin, victims of discount drivers. They do not understand the Liberals in action. I quote Ms. Séguin, "You have families. If it were your sister, your daughter, your mother, what would you do?" I quote Ms. Poulin, "No one wants to hear what we have to say. No one wants to touch this file. Is there anyone today who can explain to me why? I would like to hear it." Mr. Speaker, what is the Minister waiting for? The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House. Mr. Speaker, no one can bring victims back. And you can be sure that the government has implemented and will continue to implement measures that has been commended by the Quebec Truckers Association, as was the case for other experts. But the MP, Mr. Speaker, is incapable of saying what's provincial and what's federal. It sounds like he wants me to interfere in provincial matters.
The Minister broke his promise to build big, build bold, and build now. His big solution was Bill C-5 to establish a major projects office. And yet here we are, and not a single major project has been approved, let alone built. A clear case of a disconnect between rhetoric and reality. So what exactly is the holdup?
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I don't know which major project he's referring to. If he has a major project that is not currently before the government, I would like him to bring it to me. What I can tell him is that the MOU signed with his premier envisages nuclear development in the province, carbon capture and storage in the province, interconnects between prairie provinces, Mr. Speaker. Those are all mega projects, and we haven't even left the confines of the province of Alberta yet. We're going to continue working to build this country, Mr. Speaker, whether that MP likes it or not.
That's right. Yeah, member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River. Order.
Mr. Speaker, it's all talk. This is a Prime Minister who says one thing and does another. He says he's all for major projects, yet he has kept on the books anti-development laws, including the No Pipelines Bill C-69. And this week he voted against the Conservatives' Canadian Sovereignty Act that would reduce barriers and get shovels in the ground. Again, not a single major project approved. So how does the Prime Minister square his rhetoric with his record?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, this Alberta MP may well want to return to Calgary, where I understand his party's having a convention, at which I understand Premier Smith may welcome delegates, and he might ask her the contents of that MOU, that very, very important MOU, which is going to make Canada an energy superpower in renewable and conventional energy, create jobs for the working men and women of the province of Alberta, and create prosperity for all Canadians. That's what we're going to do, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Souris Moose Mountain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Conservatives worked with this government to pass Bill C-5. giving the Prime Minister the ability to fast-track major projects. We did that because Canada can't grow, export, or become more affordable if nothing gets built. But after nearly a year, that fast-track authority has delivered 0 results. No projects approved, no pipelines, and barriers remain. So my question's simple. When will this Prime Minister stop talking and start building?
Secretary of Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. President, the member opposite is trying to suggest that we're not building. I would remind him that we just saw the largest private sector investment in Canada, LNG Canada, ship its first LNG to Asia. Cedar LNG is now under construction. Wood fiber LNG is now under construction. Sealysim LNG is now approved, and its pipeline is now ready for construction. When Alberta's project is ready, it will be evaluated as well. Let's stop the manufactured rage, and let's build Canada strong.
The honourable member for Leduc-Wetaskiwin.
Mr. Speaker, less than a year ago, the Liberals got elected on a platform that included an already astounding $62 billion deficit and lower food prices for Canadians. That deficit grew to $78 billion in the fall, and this week they announced $12 billion in new spending to deal with the ongoing food inflation crisis that they created. This is a massive bill that will inevitably be passed on to the next generation. How have we gone in just a decade from a country with a balanced budget and the richest middle class in the world to a country that has to borrow from our kids to subsidize groceries for a quarter of our population?
The Honourable Parliament Secretary, Minister of Citizenship, Immigration, Refugees.
I said it already today, and I'll repeat it. It's a target rate of inflation that's within what the Bank of Canada gives as a guideline, Mr. Speaker, at 2.4%. The food inflation that he points out, yes, this is admittedly a challenge for the country, but the Conservatives are fond of citing reports. The problem is they never read those reports. The Dalhousie University Food Price Index says that climate change is primarily responsible for food inflation in this country. In the meantime, what we are doing is introducing the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit. As we've heard, almost $1,900 for a family of 4 in his constituency, mine, and all of ours.
I'm a member for Leduc-Wetaskiwin.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't note an answer to the question there. Earlier this week, CTV's Vashi Kapelos pointed out to the Liberal House Leader, quote, "What you announced yesterday is more than $11 billion of additional government spending. Nobody from your government has said how you will pay for it." As he does daily in this House, the House Leader completely ignored the question twice. Now that he's had some time to think about it, will the House Leader stand up and tell us where the billions of dollars will come from? Why was it not in the Liberal budget less than 3 months ago? And what is the current budget deficit number that the Liberal cabinet is now working with?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, Minister of Citizenship, Immigration and Refugees.
A fiscally responsible approach is what this government is committed to, and that's exactly what we will fulfill. I already mentioned, Mr. Speaker, the International Monetary Fund. I know for our colleagues across the way that multilateral organizations, not for all of them, but for many of them, unfortunately, are not to be dealt with. These conspiracies continue to circulate on that side of the House. But the IMF makes very clear that Canada's fiscal position is in a very good position. Canada is an example for the world when it comes to finance, a debt and deficit that is manageable and absolutely responsible policy is what we're fulfilling, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Davenport.
Last spring, Canadians elected us on a promise of making life more affordable. My constituents in Davenport and Canadians across the country know that we've taken action to cut income taxes for 22 million Canadians, we've cut the GST on first-time home buyers, and we're building homes across the nation at a pace not seen in generations. Earlier this week, the Prime Minister announced that our government will help working Canadians and their families with the rising cost of food. Can the Secretary of State for the CRA and financial institutions please explain how this measure will help Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for Davenport for her amazing work in this House. And yes, This past Monday, Mr. Speaker, we did announce a groceries and essentials benefit for 12 million Canadians. That's right. Mr. Speaker, 12 million Canadians will get that benefit. It will put up to $1,900 in the pockets of working families this year and up to $1,400 per year for the next 4 years. Time for the Conservatives to stop the obstruction, work with us for Canadian families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. I'm going to read some remarks from my constituents on Liberal policies. Even earning $40 an hour, I can't save. Sébastien, at $36 an hour, as a single mother of 3, forget about saving. Every single penny goes to groceries. Patricia, we don't need your help. We need no more money in our pockets. Carl, 93% of young Canadians are worried about the housing crisis. Many have even given up on their dreams of home ownership. Instead of asking our young people to sacrifice, when will the Prime Minister stop taxing them and smothering them with Liberal bureaucracy? The Honourable Secretary of State for Nature. Mr. Speaker, it is because we want Canadians to have more money in their pockets that we announced certain measures this week. These measures will represent $1,800 for a family of 4 this year, and roughly $900 for an individual. This is meaningful. It will lead to more money in Canadians' pockets. We have other measures for families as well, like the Canada Child Benefit, which gives families $1,800. We are doing measures for Canadians. We just need the members across the way to support them. The Honourable Member from Montmorency-Charlevoix. In 2023, Justin Trudeau announced a grocery plan. In 2026, all the problems are still there, and the Liberals are rehashing the same measures under a different name. When a strategy leads to more misery, more debt, less wealth, and less hope, you don't rebrand it, you rewrite it. After 10 years in power, the results are in. Young Quebecers and Canadians are ending the month with less than $20 in their bank accounts after having paid for rent and groceries. When will the Liberal governments finally own up to their failure and stop moving us in the wrong direction? The Honourable Secretary of State. In April, Canadians made a choice. They elected the Liberal Party so that we could put in place solutions to the difficult economic situation we're in today. This has led to tax cuts for the middle class. This week's measures on affordability. The universalization of the school lunch program. We have done a lot. That is what Canadians voted for, and we work for them. We just need Conservative support so that Canadians can actually see a difference.
Every week, I hear from young Canadians priced out of their neighbourhoods. In fact, the Missing Middle Initiative reports that half of young Canadians will have to leave the very community in which they grew up in. But you know what I don't hear? I don't hear very much from the 4 youngest Liberal members of Parliament, all born this century, all who represent parts of Canada hardest hit by housing unaffordability. Brampton, Mississauga, Greater Vancouver, Greater Montreal. Well, Canadians haven't given up on the dream of home ownership, and I haven't either. So will any one of those 4 members stand up and help the government get out of the way, remove the taxes and red tape that are stealing their dreams?
The Honourable Minister of Housing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I will say the members on this side, young Canadians who represent their ridings here in this House, certainly speak to me about their priorities, and they're here taking action to deliver for fellow young Canadians. We have the first-time homebuyers tax coming through that will deliver up to $50,000 to young Canadians for their first home purchases. We're seeing positive trends across the country now with rents declining as well. For the last 12 months. That's good for young Canadians. We're delivering groceries and essential benefit. Young Canadians will benefit from that as well. Mr. Speaker, this side of the House is delivering for young Canadians.
The Honourable Member for York Durham.
Okay, Penthouse Boomer, maybe you can share one of your homes.
No, I'll ask the member to restart and carry on.
Well, maybe the Minister of Housing can share one of his homes with the Canadians who don't have them. A study by Canadian fintech Coho Financial says that at the end of the month, Gen Z has just $16 left to spend. The Prime Minister told young Canadians what his solution was for them: sacrifice more. Well, there's nothing left to give. Coho says that Gen Z is in survival mode and therefore can't plan for their future. The Prime Minister claims he wants to work together, and we've offered him some solutions. So why won't he take any of them?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, instead of slagging generations, they should make generational investments with this side of the House. Mr. Speaker, we're focused on delivering for young Canadians. The other side of the House delayed all through the fall and into the winter on the first-time homebuyers tax break. This side of the House, we've been pushing to do this. The Conservatives did not vote for the first home savings account. These are tangible efforts we're making to support young Canadians. They're being opposed by the Conservatives.
A member for Kenora-Kiiwetinoong.
A recent study has found that on average, Gen Z Canadians have only between $9 and $16 left at the end of the month for spending cash. This is barely enough for survival, Mr. Speaker, let alone long-term saving goals. Another report from Missing Middle Initiative has found that 93% of young Canadians are concerned about the state of housing in Canada, with many giving up completely on their dream of home ownership. So will the Prime Minister stop telling young Canadians that they have to make even more sacrifices and instead end the taxes and bureaucracies that are stopping them from building their savings, starting a family, and owning a home?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, we're helping young people face the real challenges at every stage of their lives. When they want to go to school, we're making post-secondary education more affordable. When they're in school, we're helping them gain the skills that they need for the jobs of the future. And when they're ready to buy a home, we're cutting taxes for first-time home buyers and building affordable housing fast. That's what investing in young people looks like, and Conservatives have voted against every step of the way.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
A new report shows home ownership amongst 30 to 34-year-olds has collapsed from 60 to 52%, with the steepest declines amongst younger Canadians. Between 2019 and 2024, for every 100 new adults, there were just 12 housing starts meant for home ownership, less than half the rate of earlier decades. It's no wonder that 87% of Canadians are concerned about housing, rising to 93% amongst Gen Z and millennials. And nearly half of young Canadians are considering leaving their city or province because they can't afford a home. So instead of lecturing young Canadians to make more sacrifices, will this Liberal Prime Minister finally scrap the red tape and taxes that obstruct them from saving, starting a family, and owning a home?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
I'm a millennial. My friends are millennials. And you know what millennials want? We want homes built. We want this plan to go forward. Our plan that's going to build hundreds of thousands of homes in my riding, in that member's riding. I just don't know why he wants to take the hammers out of construction workers' hands and the nails out of their hands and the electrical wires out of electrical workers' hands and tell them to tools down and not build anything. He could stop obstructing and hand those hammers back to them so that they can build more homes.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
I have some advice for this Liberal member. Maybe the Liberal government needs to get their hands out of the pockets of Canadians. Because a report released last fall shows that Gen Z Canadians have virtually no disposable income left, just $9 to $16 in spendable cash at the end of the month. Half say they'll need to take on more work over the next year, 28% are borrowing from family, and 12% are delaying paying their bills just to survive. For young Canadians, long-term goals and aspirations have been replaced by survival mode. Yet the Prime Minister keeps telling young Canadians they need to make more sacrifices. What exactly does he want Gen Z to give up next when there's nothing left to cut? Is it their dreams, their futures, or any remaining hope that this country still works for them?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Trade.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I think we all know, and young Canadians also know, that the world is changing. In order for us to be successful in this changing world, we need to ensure that we're investing in Canadians, we're building our economy, and for us to do that, we need to diversify our trade. We need to make sure that we're doing more business with other countries so that we're creating good paying jobs for those young people who contribute to our economy. Speaker, we are focused on building a country that will serve all Canadians, especially young Canadians, so that they can live their dream of owning a home and build this country even better.
Honourable Member for Brandon Souris.
A new report shows Gen Z Canadians have just $9 to $16 at the end of the month after expenses. Nearly half say they need to take on more work, despite already working full-time, while others are borrowing from family or delaying bills just to survive. Home ownership among young Canadians is collapsing, and 93% say they're worried about affording life. The Liberals often boast that government has never done so much for young people, but they can't see it, don't feel it, and can't afford it. In other words, Gen Z is literally not buying it. Will the Liberals admit their failed policies have deprived young people from hope for a safe economic future?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, it's rich coming from the Conservative bench that they are talking about affordability for young people. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we are building Canada strong. We are creating opportunities for young people. We are giving money back into their pockets by this new credit. And I invite member opposite to work with us so we can diversify our trade, we can support our skilled trade workers, and we can train more workers in this country. This creates more opportunities for young people, and I invite the member opposite to work with us on this.
The honourable member for Brandon Souris.
Youth are in crisis. Conservatives know we need Gen Z to stay in Canada for this country to thrive, but 93% are now concerned about their economic future here. The Liberals say mission accomplished, but disposable income is gone, home ownership is down, and half are taking on extra work just to stay afloat. Conservatives continue to put forward policies that would create good-paying jobs for Canadians and boost our economy, but the Liberals refuse to work with us. If it is truly time to work together and meet the moment, why won't the Liberals admit they've failed young people and give one of our many policy solutions a try? It can't get worse than it is right now.
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I'd invite that member to speak with folks on the ground in his home province of Manitoba. We are working with the government of Manitoba to deliver affordable housing for young Canadians in Manitoba. These are unprecedented investments through Build Canada Homes on federal land, working with Canada Lands Company to make sure we're giving jobs to young Canadians to build this country strong. Thank you.
The honourable member for Prescott Russell Cumberland.
Mr. Speaker, we know that the worldwide context has left Canadian economies, businesses, and workers facing uncertainty. This government has already taken significant steps to help Canadian families and workers improve their finances, including the tax cut for 22 million middle-class Canadians and the lifting of the GST for first-time homebuyers. Could the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance inform the House about the new measures which will make groceries and other essentials more affordable for Canadians? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to thank my colleague for her good work and for her excellent question. The Canadian government is focused on building a stronger economy to make Canadians' lives more affordable. The new groceries and essentials benefit will provide additional support of up to $805, excluding the GST rebate, all of which will go directly into the pockets of Canadian families. What is more, our government is addressing the root causes of food insecurity by developing a national food security strategy, which will improve access to affordable food throughout the country. The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, 2/3 of Quebecers are tossing and turning in their beds at night because of inflationary Liberal taxes. It costs $17,600 on average per year to feed a family of 4, $1,000 more than last year. The good news is that Conservatives are ready to collaborate on any initiative that would help fix the worst record in the G7. Will the government immediately table legislation which would get rid of inflationary Liberal taxes, increase grocery chain competition, and reduce red tape and regulation for our farmers? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. I can't believe what I'm hearing. The Conservatives say they're willing to work with the government. Truly a great Thursday. We just spent some time in our ridings, and we heard that people need support. That's why we're working to transform the Canadian economy, which is being rocked by American tariffs. The government has proposed various solutions to support all Canadians through this difficult stage.
Lake West, South Kelowna.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister often says that we should focus on what we can control. Well, I agree. His government controls the industrial carbon tax and the fuel standard regulations that have driven our food inflation to double that of the U.S. A family of 4 now pays $17,600 a year, while 2 million Canadians line up at food banks. So which is it? Are they driving up fuel costs to inflate the price of fertilizer and other farm inputs to satisfy their radical targets? Or do they not see that taxing the tractor and then taxing the trucker ultimately means less food on Canadians' dinner tables?
You know, I'm Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. There has been a study about the impact of the industrial carbon price on food, and it found that the impact was, wait for it, about 0. That is not the issue that we're facing into. But we are talking about, when we're talking about the industrial carbon price, when we're talking about clean fuel regulation, we're creating an economy for the future, which actually globally is moving to a low carbon economy. Let's talk about the clean fuel regulations one more time. In Alberta, the Imperial Strathcona renewable diesel plant will use up to 50% of Alberta's canola. Those are opportunities for farmers, they should be saying.
Member for Okanagan Lake West, South Kelowna.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister often speaks about the levers they can pull. Well, doesn't he keep slamming the one called permanent grocery price hiking? His fuel tax fixation at 7 cents today and rockets to 17 cents a litre, an outright hunger hike hitting every part of our food supply chain. So when will the Liberal government finally show some common sense and pull the lever that pauses this food cost explosion? Or are they simply intent on letting more Canadians go hungry to protect their radical ideology?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, we sit in this House day after day, and what is so shocking is their focus on imaginary taxes. Industrial carbon price is an important lever the industry is looking to for innovation as we move towards the economy of the future. We are creating opportunities. We are creating opportunities for the future economy. That is what Canadians wanted. They wanted us to build Canada strong. What we have from the opposite side is obstruction, imaginary taxes, and a fantasy land of their own.
The Honourable Member for Spadina Harbourfront.
Mr. Speaker, gender-based violence remains a serious concern in communities across Canada, including in my community of Spadina Harbourfront. Survivors have been clear about the need for a justice system that better understands the realities of coercive control, intimidation, harassment, and repeat harms. The Protecting Victims Act, C-16, responds directly to these concerns. Could the Secretary of State for Combating Crime explain how Bill C-16, the Protecting Victims Act, advances our efforts to address gender-based violence and better protect survivors within the criminal justice system?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Violence driven by control and fear leaves deep and lasting harm, and too many women and children are living with the consequences. That's why we have introduced one of the largest criminal code updates in generations to confront modern threats and to protect victims from domestic violence, keep our children safe, address Jordan court delays, and strengthen victims' rights. We're also cracking down on coercive control before violence turns lethal, increasing protections against sexual exploitation, including AI deepfakes, and reinforcing mandatory jail time for child predators. These reforms will allow our justice system to act faster and deliver stronger protections for Canadians.
Yes. The Honourable Member for Bruce Grey, Owen Sound.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister and Cabinet are responsible for the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians in accordance with the NSICOP Act, could the Government House Leader please tell us the date that the Prime Minister intends to initiate this long overdue review of the Act? I'd note the law states that the Act and the review was to commence no later than October 6th of 2022. Finally, could the Minister please inform the House as to which committee he envisions referring this overdue review to?
The Honourable Leader of the Government and the House of Commons.
Well, I want to thank the member for that question and for his involvement and very constructive and productive involvement in that way and on that very, very important body. And we thank him for bringing this issue to the House's attention. We'll be considering that matter presently and obviously report to the House at the appropriate time.
The Honourable Member for Courtenay Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, I'm raising this again because in 2 months, core federal support for friendship centres will run out. In Rankin Inlet, Nunavut, I saw how the Pilarvik Kablu Friendship Centre delivers life-saving mental health, addictions, and on-the-land programs. In my riding, the Port Alberni and Whitechafe Friendship Centres are lifelines, providing food, housing, safety, culture, and belonging. Indigenous populations are growing, friendship centres are beyond capacity, and Budget 2025 offered nothing. This is not reconciliation, this is abandonment. When will this government commit to renewing this funding with long-term, secure, and stable support?
Excellent.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have been continuously working with groups from the Friendship Centre and meeting with them to address this very file, Mr. Speaker. I invite my colleague to reach out to my office so that we can continue looking at what the future is going to be for Friendship Centres. I know and understand personally. I have 2 friendship centers in my riding. I am somebody who has gone to a friendship center as part of the after-school program, after-school care. I think it's essential that we acknowledge the hard work they do and continue supporting them.
The honourable member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, this government is cutting thousands of public sector jobs. The people who process EI, OAS, CPP, and passports, agricultural researchers, 1,300 food inspectors. These are not numbers on a CEO spreadsheet. They are real people. They work to help Canadians. They support family farmers. They keep our food safe. Instead of giving his friends a tax break on their yachts and their private jets, will the Prime Minister stop these reckless cuts before public health, before public services, and our food safety is put at risk?
Hear, hear. Excellent question.
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. President, I want to start by thanking our public servants for their hard work and dedication. We deeply value the work of all public service employees. They are dedicated and hardworking public servants who play a critical role in delivering key results for Canadians. As we move forward with comprehensive expenditure review, we are committed to approaching this process compassionately by minimizing involuntary departures as much as possible. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Order, à l'ordre. À la suite des...
Following discussions between representatives of all parties in the House, I understand that there's an agreement to observe a moment of silence to commemorate the National Day of Remembrance of the Quebec City mosque attack and action against Islamophobia.
I now invite honourable members to rise in honour of the memory of the victims of the attack that happened 9 years ago today on January 29th, 2017. I thank all honourable members.